Imagine waking up tomorrow and the word I no longer exists. You can't say, I think. You can't say, I want. You can't even think it. Instead, you're equality 72521. Not a name. A number. You eat when the bell rings. You sleep when the state tells you. You sweep streets because that's what the Council of Vocations assigned you at age 15, and you'll sweep streets until you die. You have brothers. 7 billion brothers. Everyone is your brother. No one is special. No one is yours. And if you ever dare to think if that forbidden word ever crosses your mind, you've committed the greatest sin imaginable. That's not a hypothetical nightmare. That's Anthem, Ayn Rand's shortest but most chilling novel. And here's what makes it terrifying. She wrote it in 1937, but she wasn't writing fiction. She was writing a warning. A warning about what happens when the collective becomes God. When we erases I. When society decides that your life doesn't belong to you. In the next 23 minutes, I'm going to break down exactly what Anthem is, why Rand wrote it, and why this 90-page novella might be the most important book you read this year. Because the world Rand described? We're building it right now. We just use different words. Let's start. Here's the problem. Most people dismiss Anthem. They call it too extreme. They say, come on, that could never happen. No government would actually ban the word I. No society would literally erase individual identity. It's just dystopian fiction, and that's exactly why Rand wrote it as fiction. Because people won't listen to philosophy lectures. They won't read dense essays about the dangers of collectivism. But they'll read a story. They'll feel the horror of a world without I. And maybe, just maybe, they'll recognize the early symptoms in their own lives. But here's what happens when you dismiss Anthem as just a story. You miss the warning signs. You do a notice when your workplace tells you there's no I in team. You don't flinch when your family says, we don't think about ourselves, we think about the family unit. You don't question when society teaches your kids that individual achievement is selfish, that standing out is arrogant, that wanting something for yourself is greedy. Rand didn't write Anthem to predict a literal future where the word I is banned. She wrote it to show you the logical endpoint of one idea, that the group matters more than the individual. That society's needs trump your needs. That serving others is moral, and serving yourself is sin. And here's the scariest part. Collectivism never announces itself. It doesn't show up with soldiers and barbed wire. It shows up with guilt, with shame, with social pressure. It whispers, don't be selfish. It says, think of others first. It teaches you that your dreams, your goals, your happiness, those are secondary. The collective comes first. Anthem shows you where that logic ends. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So let's break down exactly what this book is, what it means, and why Rand's warning is more urgent today than it was in 1937. So what is Anthem? It's a 90-page dystopian novella Ayn Rand published in 1938. But she wrote it in 1937 while living in America. She'd escaped Soviet Russia just 12 years earlier. She'd seen collectivism firsthand. She'd watched the Soviet Union erase individual identity in the name of the people. She'd seen what happens when the state becomes God and the individual becomes nothing. Anthem wasn't imagination. It was memory with a warning label. The story takes place in a dark future. Rand doesn't tell us how we got there, and that's intentional. Civilization has collapsed. Technology is gone. Humanity has regressed to candlelight and horse carts, but the real regression isn't technological. It's spiritual. It's linguistic. It's philosophical. In this world, the word I has been erased. It doesn't exist. Everyone refers to themselves as we. Not the royal we, the collective we, because there is no individual. There is only the group. You are born into a collective dormitory. You're raised by the state. At age 5, you go to the home of the students where you learn that you are nothing, and the collective is everything. At age 15, the Council of Vocations assigns you a job. You don't choose it. You don't get to say, the council decides what society needs, and you comply. Our protagonist is equality 72521. He's a street sweeper. But here's his crime. He's tall. He's smart. He learns faster than his brothers, and that's a sin. Because to be different is to be unequal. To be unequal is to threaten the collective. So he's punished for his intelligence by being given the most menial job possible. The council sees his potential and crushes it deliberately. That's not a bug. That's the system working exactly as designed. But equality 72521 commits the ultimate sin. He thinks. He discovers an abandoned subway tunnel from the old world. And in that tunnel he finds tools, books, wires, and he starts to experiment. He rediscovers electricity. He builds a light bulb. And he's so excited, so naive that he thinks the council will celebrate this gift. He thinks they'll welcome progress. Instead, they call it blasphemy. Why? Because he worked alone. He thought alone. He created something without the collective's permission. And that is the greatest crime imaginable. Not murder. Not theft. But independence. So he runs. He escapes into the uncharted forest, a place no one goes because they've been taught its death. And there, he finds something even more dangerous than electricity. Love. He meets Liberty 5 to 3000, a woman who followed him. And together, they discover an abandoned house from the old world. And in that house, they find books. And in those books, Equality 72521 finds the lost word, the forbidden word, the sacred word. I, not we, not us, not the collective. Just I am. I think. I will. And when he reads that word for the first time, everything changes. He understands. The crime wasn't electricity. The crime wasn't love. The crime was being himself. The crime was existing as an individual. And he realizes that the entire society was built on one lie, that individuals don't matter. That you are property of the collective. That your life is not your own. So here's what Anthem is really about. It's the story of one man rediscovering his own soul. It's about the moment you realize you are not a number. You are not a cog. You are not an extension of the group. You are you. Sovereign. Independent. Free. And Rand's message is this. The word I is sacred. Individualism isn't selfishness. It's survival. It's sanity. It's the foundation of every human achievement, every advancement, every moment of genuine happiness. Because you can't love if there's no I to love. You can't create if there's no I to create. You can't live if there's no I to live. Anthem is Rand's warning that collectivism doesn't start with soldiers. It starts with language, with guilt, with the slow creeping belief that you don't matter as much as the group. That's what Anthem is. That's what it means. And now let's talk about how it's happening right now. Now let's bring Anthem out of fiction and into your life, because collectivism doesn't announce itself. It hides in normal-sounding phrases. It disguises itself as love, as duty, as teamwork. So let's look at 3 places where the word I is being slowly erased, and you might not even notice it's happening. Application 1. Relationships. Sarah's been dating Mike for 3 years. She loves photography. She's been saving money to take a workshop in Colorado, something she's dreamed about for years. But when she tells Mike, he says, "Well, what about us? We were supposed to save for a vacation together. Why are you thinking about yourself?" Notice the language. What about us? Not, and I feel left out, or I'd like us to travel together. But us, the collective. The unit. And suddenly, Sarah's individual dream, her passion, her goal becomes selfish. Becomes a betrayal of the relationship. This is Anthem in real time. In Rand's story, Equality 72521 can't say, "I want to invent." He can only exist for his brothers. And Sarah? She's being taught the same lesson. Your wants don't matter as much as the relationship S wants. Your dreams are secondary to our plans. Here's the truth Anthem teaches. A healthy relationship is 2 individuals who choose each other. Not 2 halves of a whole. Not we that erases I, but 2 I's who respect each other's sovereignty. Sarah's photography doesn't threaten the relationship. Mike's discomfort with her independence does. In Anthem, the state bans love between individuals because individual bonds threaten collective loyalty. In modern relationships, guilt does the same job. Don't be selfish. Think of us. You're being individualistic, and slowly you stop having dreams. You stop having preferences. You become half of a we and you forget you were ever an I. Application 2. Family. David's family has a tradition. Every Sunday, the whole family has dinner at his parents' house. No exceptions. It's been this way for 30 years, but David just started a business. He's working 7 days a week trying to get it off the ground. And he needs Sundays to work. When he tells his mom he can't make it this week, she doesn't say, "I'll miss you." She says, "What about the family? We all sacrifice for family dinner. Why do you think you're special?" This is selfish, David. Same pattern. What about the family? Not, "I'm disappointed" or "I value this time together," but the family, the collective. Unit that trumps individual needs. In Anthem, Equality 72521 doesn't have a mother. He has the collective of mothers. He doesn't have brothers. He has all men are brothers, which means no one is. And David's family is teaching him the same philosophy. You don't exist as David. You exist as part of the family. Your goals, your time, your life, those belong to the family unit. Individuality is betrayal. Here's what Rand would say. Family is not a claim on your life. Love is not obligation. True family relationships are voluntary. They're based on mutual respect and shared values, not guilt and duty. If your family can't respect your individual goals, they don't love you. They love the role you play in maintaining their collective. In Anthem, the word my doesn't exist. You can't say my mother or my brother. Everyone belongs to everyone, which means no one belongs to anyone. And when your family treats your time, your goals, your dreams as collective property, they're doing the same thing. They've banned the word my. Your life is ours. Application 3. Work. Jessica is a software engineer. She's been working on a feature for 6 months, nights, weekends, learning new frameworks on her own time. It's brilliant. It's going to save the company hundreds of thousands of dollars. She's proud of it. When she presents it to her manager, he says, "This is great, really great. But let's make sure we frame this as a team effort. We don't want anyone to feel like you're trying to stand out. There's no I in team, right? There it is." The exact phrase from Anthem. There's no I in team. Jessica built this. Jessica sacrificed for this. Jessica earned the credit. But her manager is asking her to erase herself, to dilute her achievement into the collective, to pretend that the team half of whom didn't even know this feature existed somehow shares the glory. In Anthem, when Equality 72521 invents the light bulb, the Council of Scholars rejects it because he worked alone. They say, what is not done collectively cannot be good. Jessica's manager is saying the same thing. Individual achievement is dangerous. It threatens the collective. It makes others feel bad, so we must erase it. Here's Rand's truth. There is an I, an achievement. Every invention, every breakthrough, every moment of excellence comes from an individual mind. Teams execute. Teams collaborate. But real creation comes from one person's vision. And when you erase that, when you force individuals to hide behind we, you don't build equality. You build mediocrity. Jessica has a choice. She can accept the collective credit and watch her achievement dissolve into the team built this, or she can stand up and say, I built this. This is mine. You can acknowledge my work, or I can take this work somewhere that will. That's the choice Equality 72521 makes when he runs into the forest. And that's the choice you face every time someone tells you to sacrifice your I for the we. Because here's what Anthem teaches. Collectivism doesn't start with the government. It starts in your relationships, in your family, in your workplace. It starts with small sacrifices. Little moments where you're taught that your individual needs, goals, and dreams are less important than the group's comfort. And if you keep sacrificing, if you keep erasing yourself, you'll wake up one day and realize you've become a number. Not Sarah or David or Jessica. Just another member of the collective. Another we who forgot they were ever an I. Now let's address the 2 biggest objections people have about Anthem and Rand's individualism. Objection 1. Anthem is too extreme. That could never happen. No society would actually ban the word I. This is the most common objection, and it completely misses the point. You're right, no government will literally pass a law banning the word I, but that's not how collectivism works. It doesn't need to ban words, it just needs to make those words feel wrong. Think about it. When was the last time you said, I want without feeling a twinge of guilt? When was the last time you prioritized your own goals without someone calling you selfish? When was the last time you stood out, achieved something alone, and felt completely comfortable taking credit without immediately deflecting to the team or I couldn't have done it without everyone else? Rand's genius in Anthem wasn't predicting a literal word ban. It was showing you the end result of a philosophy you're already living. You've been taught since childhood that I is suspicious, that me is greedy, that mine is selfish. You've been trained to erase yourself linguistically, not by force, but by guilt. In Soviet Russia, where Rand came from, they didn't need to ban I. They just made individualism a crime. They called it bourgeois individualism. They taught children that the collective comes first, that your life belongs to the state, that sacrifice is virtue and self-interest is evil. And within one generation, people stopped thinking of themselves as individuals. They became the collective. Anthem isn't a prediction. It's a spotlight. Rand is showing you what you're already doing to yourself every time you apologize for wanting something. Every time you shrink to make others comfortable. Every time you sacrifice your goals because someone calls you selfish. The word I isn't banned in America, but how often do you actually use it without guilt? That's Rand's point. That's the warning. Objection 2. But individualism means no one cares about anyone else. We'd all be selfish, isolated, miserable. This objection reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of what Rand means by individualism. People hear rational self-interest, and they think, screw everyone else, I only care about me. But that's not what Rand is saying, not even close. Here's the distinction. Anthem isn't anti-connection. It's anti-forced connection. It's anti-obligation pretending to be love. In Anthem, everyone is your brother, but that means no one is your brother. When everyone is family, family becomes meaningless. When you're forced to love everyone equally, you can't actually love anyone specifically. That's the tragedy of the collective. It promises unity and delivers isolation. Real individualism? It's the opposite. When you respect yourself as an individual, when you value your own life and goals, you're capable of genuine relationships. Not out of duty, not out of guilt, but out of choice. Think about equality 72521 and liberty 5-3000. In the collective society, they couldn't love each other. Love requires preference. It requires you to say, you are special to me, not because society says you should be, but because I choose you. The collective can't allow that. Individual love threatens collective loyalty. But when they escape, when they rediscover I, they also discover you, not as our brother or our sister, but as you, specific, chosen, loved. That's Rand's argument. Individualism doesn't destroy connection. It makes connection possible. Because you can't untruly give yourself to someone if you don't own yourself in the first place. You can't love someone if there's no I to love them. You can't help someone out of genuine care if you're only helping out of obligation. The collective promises that forcing everyone to sacrifice for each other will create harmony, but it creates resentment. It creates people going through the motions of care without actually caring. It creates relationships built on guilt, not love. Individualism says, you own your life. You choose your values. You decide who matters to you. And because you choose because it's voluntary, those relationships mean something. That help means something, that love is real. Anthem's hero doesn't end the book alone. He ends it with liberty, with a vision of a new society based on voluntary relationships, not isolation, not selfishness, but connection built on mutual respect for individual sovereignty. That's the world Rand wanted. That's the life she's offering you. Let me show you what life looks like before and after you understand Anthem's message. Before, he's 34 years old. He works at a job he hates because it's stable and his parents would be disappointed if he quit. He's in a relationship with someone he's not sure he loves anymore. But they've been together 5 years, and you don't just throw that away. Every Sunday he goes to family dinner even though it drains him. Every weekend his friends expect him at the bar even though he'd rather be home working on his novel. Tom doesn't say, I want. He says, I should. I need to. People expect me to. He's living the collectivist philosophy without even knowing it. His life isn't his. It belongs to his family's expectations, his girlfriend's needs, his friends' plans, his boss's demands. And here's the thing, Tom thinks he's being good. He thinks sacrifice is virtue. He thinks putting everyone else first makes him moral. He thinks saying, I want would make him selfish. But Tom is miserable. He's depressed. He's anxious. He feels trapped. And when you ask him what he wants, he genuinely can't answer. Because he's been erasing I for so long that he doesn't know who I is anymore. He's become equality 72521 before the discovery. A number, a function, not a person. Then Tom reads Anthem, and something clicks. He realizes that his misery isn't a personal failing. It's the logical result of living for everyone except himself. He sees that every time someone called him selfish for having wants, they were asking him to sacrifice. Every time someone said, think of us, they were erasing his I. So Tom makes a decision. He quits the job, takes a massive pay cut to work somewhere that lets him learn and grow. His parents are upset. He doesn't apologize. He doesn't explain endlessly. He just says, I'm choosing this. He has an honest conversation with his girlfriend. Turns out she's been feeling the same way, staying out of obligation, not love. They break up. It hurts. But it's clean. It's honest. And 3 months later, they're both happier than they've been in years. He tells his family he'll come to Sunday dinner when he can, but not every week. His mother tries guilt. After everything we've done for you? And Tom says something he's never said before. I love you, but my Sundays are mine. His friends call him less. Some of them drift away. And Tom realizes they weren't friends, they were habits. People who wanted his presence, not his company. The ones who stay. Those are real. Those are chosen. And here's what happens. Tom starts writing. Every Sunday morning he writes. And 6 months later, he finishes his novel. It's not published yet. Might never be, but he finished it. Because for the first time in his adult life, he's living for himself. Tom isn't isolated. He's not cold. He's not a sociopath. He's happier. He's lighter. He has energy again. And the relationships he has now, they're real. They're not built on guilt. They're built on mutual respect, on shared values, on choice. That's the transformation Anthem offers. Not selfishness, not isolation, but sovereignty. The recognition that your life belongs to you. That I is not a sin, it's the foundation of everything good in your life. Because here's what Tom discovered, what Equality 72521 discovered, what Ayn Rand wants you to discover. You cannot give what you do not have. You cannot love others if you don't love yourself. You cannot help others if you've sacrificed yourself into nothing. You cannot be good to anyone if you're not allowed to be good to yourself. The collective promises that if everyone sacrifices for everyone else, we'll all be happy. But that's a lie. Sacrifice doesn't create happiness. It creates resentment, exhaustion, and slow spiritual death. Individualism says, take care of yourself, pursue your goals, live your life. And from that foundation of self-respect and self-care, you'll have something real to offer others. Not obligation. Not guilt, but genuine care, genuine help, genuine love. That's the world on the other side of Anthem. That's the life waiting for you when you rediscover the word I. So let's bring this home. Anthem is a 90-page novella about a man who rediscovers the word I. But it's not really about him, it's about you. It's Ayn Rand holding up a mirror and asking, how many times today did you erase yourself? How many times did you apologize for wanting something? How many times did you sacrifice your goals because someone called you selfish? Anthem's warning isn't that the government will ban individualism, it's that you'll ban it yourself. That you'll internalize the guilt so deeply you won't need external force. You'll police your own thoughts. You'll shrink yourself. You'll become Equality 72521 sweeping streets, not because soldiers forced you, but because you never gave yourself permission to be more. And here's what Rand is telling you. The word I is sacred. Your life is yours. Your goals are valid. Your happiness matters. Not because you're special, because you exist. You don't need to earn the right to live for yourself. You already have it. You were born with it. And every time you sacrifice that right, every time you erase yourself for the collective, you're committing the same crime Anthem society committed. You're making yourself a servant, a number, a ghost. So here's my challenge to you. For 1 week, pay attention to how often you erase I. Notice when you say, we should instead of I want. Notice when you apologize for having preferences. Notice when you sacrifice your time, your goals, your energy not because you want to, but because you're afraid of being called selfish. And then just once try saying I without apologizing. Try saying I want this, or I am choosing this, or this is mine. And watch what happens. Watch how uncomfortable it feels. Watch who gets upset. Because that discomfort, that resistance, that's the collectivist philosophy Rand warned you about. That's Anthem happening in real time. You don't need to run into the forest. You don't need to reinvent electricity. You just need to remember one word, I, and defend it. Fiercely, unapologetically, rationally. Because at the end of Anthem, Equality 72521 stands on a mountain and says, I am. I think. I will. And that's not arrogance. That's not selfishness. That's the sound of a human being reclaiming his soul. So here's my question for you. Will you reclaim yours? If this video gave you clarity, hit that like button. Drop a comment and tell me, what's one area of your life where you need to reclaim the word, I? And subscribe, because we're going to keep analyzing life through the Rand lens, one video at a time. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.